And I think, the price was a reservation, but I thought, if I get the job sooner than me, like slaving away for another 6 months, get a bump in my salary, it's going to more than pay for it. And turns out that's exactly what happened. I mean, you were just talking, 35 days or so from signing up for the course. I have a job paying considerably more than I do now. And I don't know. I don't like to think about where I would be if I didn't sign up for the course. I'd probably still be studying, hoping that the next certification would get it. But honestly, everything in the course is put so well together that it just guides you directly to that job.
I know you are really a special case in that, if I recall correctly, you ended up with 4 job offers and effectively selecting the one that made the most sense to you, that had the right benefits package, that had the right bonus structure, that all these different things. And I do fully expect that anyone who comes through this program will have a job offer in their hand and they'll be accepting the job offer. I don't necessarily promote that you're going to have 4 job offers. So this is definitely an interesting dynamic to your story. So can you tell me a little bit about how you ended up with 4 offers on the table, and then what the process was like of moving through that, evaluating, and then making a decision for kickstarting your career?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So I was actually in the middle of kind of multiple interview processes, kind of moving through the final stages at a lot of places with those jobs. And then I actually had a company that reached out to me on LinkedIn. It was a Tuesday evening. I hadn't even applied for the job, and they sent me an IM, and they're like, "Could you interview tomorrow morning?" And I said, "Sure." And so I interviewed with him. It went really well. He really liked my responses, all of that. He said, "Okay, we'll move you on to the next interview." And so I thought it sounds good. Well, about 20 minutes later, he emailed me and was like, "You know what? That was all I needed to know. No more interviews are needed. Attached is your offer." And so I was like, "Oh, that's really good." And so for those other companies that I was in the interview process with, I just emailed them and say, "Hey, wanted to let you know I have another offer. If you're interested, let me know." And 3 of them said, "Yeah, here's an offer. Take a look at it." And it was really cool because having all those offers on the table at the same time really gave me the opportunity to look at them, evaluate them, and also do a little negotiating against them to say, they offered this, can you offer that? And really helped me make a good decision. And honestly, it really helped me out a lot.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, I mean, obviously, that is an amazing position to be in, to be looking at multiple offers, and then you feel much more comfortable leveraging the offers against one another.
Yep.
Or sort of you're coming from a power position. That's all it is. You're coming from a position of strength, and you can do a little bit of the pulling from your end, which is incredible to think that someone who is looking to land their first job in the Salesforce space is coming from a position of strength on landing that first role. That's an incredible dynamic. And I think that, a lot of people underestimate the job market in the Salesforce space. And I've heard terms like saturation used. And then we hear a story like yours where, how could a market possibly be saturated when someone who is, arguably junior level, is coming in and getting 4 offers on the table and then leveraging those against each other to make a choice? That's absolutely incredible. And I think should pretty well shut down any concept that there might not be jobs available for people trying to enter into the market. So that's excellent. Now, I know we even have members of the program who would want to know, much less the entire audience that would want to know, what is it that you think gave you that incredible sort of ground game that allowed you to get these 4 offers on the table? Were you applying for 1,000 positions? Were you, doing something specific that you think helped generate that traction around the offer process, or really just even the interview process?
Yeah, I think it was really applying some of the things from your course. First of all, really getting my LinkedIn up to speed, getting my branding good, getting the experience looking great. I think that really helped a lot, especially with the first offer. All they knew about me was my LinkedIn, and they found me on there. And they didn't even ask for my resume. They're like, "We looked at your LinkedIn. That's all we need to see." So I think, first of all, that was huge. And I also had other employers reaching out to me just based on my LinkedIn, so they weren't the only one. But I think from there, really just applying the interview practices, things of that nature. I really got comfortable with that, where when I went into that interview, I felt really confident, and they were very, honestly, they said they were impressed by it. So I think just applying those two things, getting my branding on point with the LinkedIn, and really just getting comfortable and confident with approaching an interview and what I wanted to say,
Mhm.
really helped me, because I got that feedback from other employers as well, where they said I interviewed really well, and they also liked my online presence.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I try to preach that as much as I can. It's like I'll have people reach out to me on LinkedIn, which I'm perfectly fine with. I like talking to
Hmm.
people, and one of the first questions I'll get sometimes is, "Hey, will you take a look at my resume?" And that is a key indicator for me to say you are focused on the wrong thing. While a resume is important, you should have one in place. You should not be spending time on your resume if your LinkedIn profile is not on point.
Yeah.
And a lot of people question, well, what is on point? And there are a few different things on point. And obviously, we go through that in a very detailed, strategic way in the program. So, would you say that when you joined the program, were you aware of LinkedIn and the power that it holds? And then I'm sure that you knew that it was sort of the platform for professionals. Most people know that, but then
Hmm.
they really underestimate the power that a few hours on LinkedIn can really do for your traction when you're trying to get in front of these recruiters and hiring managers. So, I mean, what difference did you see after implementing some of those changes, outlined in the course?
Yeah, before I would say my LinkedIn was probably fine, but it wasn't really generating any interest. But after I did spend a few hours updating it, the difference was huge. Really, people started reaching out to me. I actually had one recruiter say, "Every time I do a search, you keep coming up, so I'm going to reach out to you now." So that was a big change. Yeah, a lot of buzz, a lot of people reaching out to me. And really going for it, I mean, even after I accepted the offer, I had to turn my LinkedIn interest level off so people would stop reaching out to me just because they keep coming. So I think that was a big difference. And I think a lot of people do overlook that. They think, if my resume is good, if I have the certifications, I'll be good to go. But really, that LinkedIn is, I think, like you said in your course, the first impression that people get of you and where you can really sell yourself.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And when did that first offer land on your table? I know you were looking at a few different ones, so you're probably like the person in tax season trying to shuffle through and figure out where all your offers are. But
Hmm.
when do you recall the sort of when that first offer hit the table?
Hmm. Yeah, it would have been last Wednesday. I got it in the afternoon.
Okay, so last Wednesday, based on the day we're recording this, that
Yep.
would have been around the 17th, February 17th, 2021.
Hmm.
And looking at your member profile right now, I see you joined the program on January 10th, 2021. So we're looking at a month and 7 days, so maybe right around 5 weeks, something
Yeah.
like that, which is an incredible amount of time, right? I mean, 5 weeks, we're looking at whatever that is. I'm really bad at math. So like 35 days, something like that. Like that is an absolute dominant ramp up speed. And I know a lot of people see these testimonials. We talked to Josie Kelly, previously on the channel, and she mentioned that she was really excited about the testimonials that she had seen and people
Hmm.
landing jobs in under 2 months and under 3 months and how quickly this could happen. And hearing somebody talk about it is exciting. And it's like, wow, you did it so quickly. And then it actually happening to you is a totally different thing. And I think, the feedback I've gotten from the members is, oh my gosh, like it's really happening. And this is kind of scary. Like this is happening really quickly. Um, am I really prepared for this? There's a lot of imposter syndrome that goes into it.
Yeah.
I got my certification. Can I really work a job? I went through your interview prep. Can I really go through an interview and get an offer on the table? And those are a lot of legitimate questions to ask. But what were your sort of emotions and feelings coming through the process? I mean, did you have expectations for yourself at how quickly this would happen for you, or what were you sort of hoping coming into the program? And then, did it? Clearly, I would think that it delivered based on that timeline. But I would like to hear from some sort of your perspective on that whole process and what happened over that 35-day period.
Hmm. Yeah, my expectations, I didn't think I would get it that quickly. but it's definitely nice that it did. I thought so. I'm someone who I already was at certified. I already had my
Mhm.
certification, and I
Mhm.
was kind of struggling to get interviews. I had some, but also to get really valuable experience where I could talk about that and have that real world experience to reference in an interview. And that was one of the key selling points for me on the course was being able to get that experience. So I think really as soon as I got that experience, I felt better in those interviews and I was able
Mhm.
to speak more confidently and have, real examples to go to, things of that nature. And from there, I was like, oh, I guess it's only a matter of time. I felt really good, but I didn't think that it would happen that quickly. But I remember when I first signed up for the course, I was like, even if this helps me get it like a job a few weeks earlier, it'd be worth the investment. And
Mhm.
turned out it was much earlier than the 6 months, of course, about 5 months earlier.
Yeah, yeah. I've struggled with. We sort of have this like fun naming, or at least to me it's fun. Maybe not to you guys, but to me it's sort of this like 60K in 6 months or less, and I kind of like
Mhm.
that has a ring to it. And I'm sort of looking at the numbers coming through, and I'm like, should we be saying like 60K plus in like 3 months or less, or four? Like, but it doesn't have quite the ring to it. Plus,
No.
I kind of like having a little more runway time to
Hmm.
make sure that we are 100% under promising and over delivering every time. So that's really the
Yeah.
goal. I sleep better at night knowing that I'm responsible for a 6 month period and not a 3 month period. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's incredible how quickly you move through this. I would say that's about the fastest we've seen. I know we've had a couple of 30 to 40 dayers, but
Hmm.
it's not all that common. Typically, maybe around 90 days, something like that has become pretty normal. But
Sure.
yeah, 35 days is certainly speedy. So you mentioned in there the volunteer project really helped you. It sounds like it helped you build your confidence in
Hmm.
interviews and sort of shake some of that imposter syndrome off. Like, yeah, I'm ready. I've worked this project, and you probably jumped into the project and realized, yeah, I can use my skills to actually develop solutions and understand requirements and turn those into functional, processes in Salesforce and things like that. So once you added that to your resume and you were able to tell those stories in your interviews, you felt like that really, I guess, took it up a notch and probably was the final piece to the puzzle to making all this come together.
Yeah, I would definitely so because every interview you're in, they're going to get to the point where they say, "What's your experience with this? What's your experience with that?" If you don't have anything to say, I mean, it's going to be very difficult. And I think before I was kind of saying, I've done these things on Trail and all of that, which is good, and you can leverage those things. But if you can tell an employer, I've gone in and I've done this and I've done that, and here's a real world example of me doing
Mm-hmm.
that, that just sounds so much better and gives you so much more authenticity. And I think, like you said, it makes you feel better too. You actually have gone in there and done it. So makes the employer more confident in you, makes the interview go smoother, but also gives you that confidence on the back end to know that you can deliver.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, and I mean that is a big part of it, and we're always adding to the program. Like if there's anyone struggling in any area, we're always adding something or modifying something to make it just work that much better. There's always a screw that can be tightened, and we're constantly on top of that. So I guess I want to hear what you were up to because, as you mentioned, you joined the program and you were already certified, which
Yeah.
is not uncommon. And it's one of the bigger questions I get is, "Hey, Brad, I'm already certified. Is your program for me?" And I try to explain that this is not a get your certification program. This is a get a paycheck in your hand program. And there are plenty of other courses where you can go spend a few bucks and get a certification, and they are valuable courses. Um, and I didn't start a program to do the same thing that everybody else is doing. I started this because I felt that there was a gap in the ecosystem where there were a lot of people with certifications and didn't have jobs.
Yeah.
And they were missing some of these elements like real world experience, or they knew about LinkedIn, but they didn't truly understand the power of it. Or they sort of knew how to look for jobs, or they sort of knew how to interview, but the truth is, it just wasn't where it needed to be to ask someone to pay you $60,000 to $80,000. It's not you. You can't come in asking for that kind of money and expect that spending 4 or 8 weeks or whatever getting a certification makes
Mm.
you entitled to that. And I think that's one of the gaps that a lot of people see. So yeah, I guess all of that being said, I sort of want to hear what you were up to before coming in and what made you say, I think this is the logical next step to really close the gap and finish this. Um, and then also, you're coming from this point where you feel like you've already done a lot of the groundwork. So what reservations did you have when you joined that you sort of had to overcome to make that decision? Yeah.
And I saw a lot of people in your course, getting jobs again with just the administrator certification. So I was like, I think the missing piece is in Brad's course. Um, and so
Yeah,
that was
it's
kind
hiding in
of,
there somewhere. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, but I did have reservations at first because, I was like, I already have 3 certifications. How far off am I? Can I get it on my own? Should I just keep pushing? And I think, the price was a reservation, but I thought, if I get the job sooner than me, like slaving away for another 6 months, get a bump in my salary, it's going to more than pay for it. And turns out that's exactly what happened. I mean, we were just talking, 35 days or so from signing up for the course. I have a job paying considerably more than I do now. Um, and I don't know. I don't like to think about where I would be if I didn't sign up for the course. I'd probably still be studying, hoping that the next certification would get it. But honestly, everything in the course is put so well together that it just guides you directly to that job. There's a lot of resources out there about how to get certifications, just like you were talking about, which is great.
Mhm.
But I was at the point where I was like, I want to actually do this. I want a job because I like Salesforce. I don't want to just be getting certifications and chasing those. That's not my goal. And so I just decided I think this course is the best way for me to be able to actually work towards and get that job. And that's exactly what happened.
That's excellent. So I guess sort of a final question here. And I try to ask this to everyone that we bring on, and it's what advice would you have to someone who is in that phase in their trying to kickstart this career where they're saying, I think I can do this myself. I'm not 100% sure where to go from here. I feel a little stuck. Like there's a lot of reasons people feel stuck. They can't quite get certified, whatever it is, they're struggling with the exam. They can never get that. They apply for so many jobs, but no one ever responds back to them. Even if they get interviews, they never get offers.
Right.
And they're dealing with it. There are so many obstacles to finishing the actual journey of getting a job offer and starting a job. I guess what would you say to people? I mean, in my opinion, there is a DIY approach that does work.
Yeah.
You can do this yourself. We facilitate groups like Salesforce for Everyone, specifically for people who want to learn from each other, grow together, and take a DIY approach. My thought process is there that like you mentioned, if you even land a job 1 or 2 weeks sooner because of a program like this, then you've already paid for the program in itself. Just from that first paycheck you're going to get, it pays for the entire program. So even if it helps you land a job, 2 weeks sooner, it's totally paid for. If it helps you land a job 5 months sooner, then clearly it is beyond paid for. And I guess that's sort of my objection to the DIY approach, but I also respect people who want to do the DIY approach. So I guess if you were talking to someone who is thinking about the program, but they're not 100% sure, I guess what would be your advice to them?
Yeah, I would say that's kind of where I was. I think, doing it yourself, you definitely can do it. I think I had confidence that I could do it, but my only question was, how long is it going to take me? How many mistakes am I going to make? How many times am I going to have to learn from those? And ultimately, how long am I willing to wait trying to figure it out on my own?
Mm-hmm.
I think I could have gotten there, but again, I was at the point where I was like, if there's a clear action plan that I can follow in order to obtain it, where someone else has already done the work for me and I can just kind of follow it and, of course, still lean in and put all of my effort into that, that's very valuable. So I would say, someone just starting out, if you want to be able to get there as quickly as possible in a logical fashion. I mean, in your course, Brad, it's really laid out step by step. Do this, do that. You have to put in the time to learn. You have to work hard, but it literally walks you through each step of the process in order, so you don't have to, Google things, try to find things on your own, try to figure it out, hope that you get experience, hope that something happens. It really just kind of makes it more clear. And I would say almost really guarantees that you will get there, other than just trying to kind of, again, I keep saying the word hope that it happens on your own.
Follow the steps, do the program, actually follow the steps and lean into it and absorb the information and allow yourself to be guided forward. And it just works. I mean, we didn't guess when we built the program. We knew it worked. It was just a matter of convincing other people that this works, and it really is the quickest. And I'm not saying it's easy, but it's probably the easiest path forward. That doesn't mean it's not a challenge. It just means it's the least challenging option that you have in front of you. But well, I just want to thank you so much for taking your time out to talk to us about your story, to talk, about the program and the benefit that it's had for you. And I definitely look forward to staying in touch throughout your career and seeing where this thing takes you.
Okay, sounds good. No, thank you to you. I owe you a lot.